I'm Damian Jones. I work as the Trial Manager for the Irrigated Cropping Council here based in Kerang. A lot of the work that the ICC's previously done with irrigated crops is about maximising their performance. With the last few seasons with low allocations and high water prices, it's shifted our focus to actually looking at the best return per megalitre. So we've had some ideas about how that can be achieved, but we've actually set up a couple of trials with the Smarter Irrigation for Profit 2 project. And that's where the project's been great in that it's given us the opportunity to put a little bit of science behind some of the decisions that we make if we haven't got a lot of water. So in 2019, we ran a series of trials that looked at wheat and canola and barley and fava beans, and different irrigation management strategies. So there was, I term it the plus minus trial, where in the autumn we had plus or minus pre-irrigation, and in the spring we had either a one spring irrigation or full spring irrigation. Of course, we kept all our costs of what the water cost us, in the inputs, and then at the end of the season we could then come up with a gross margin that actually demonstrated that yes, this strategy X was the best way to go based on a gross margin analysis of each of the individual trials. Because we had a range of different varieties in the wheat part of the trial, so we had everything from Axe as an early maturing through to DS Bennett as a long maturing wheat. It was quite interesting to see how things developed through the season. Now, we don't get access to water till about August 15th. So that was the first opportunity we had to irrigate. And looking at the crops at the time, the Axe, just representing any early season wheat, it had almost done its stuff, if you liked. So we almost had heads out. It had obviously finished tillering. So any irrigation that we gave it sort of past that stage simply resulted in better grain size. So we had adequate moisture through the grain fill period. Whereas the longer season wheats, and our longest was DS Bennett, was still in a sort of semi-vegetative stage. So it had gone into stem elongation, but irrigation at that time meant that we actually could maintain tillers rather than them drop off through moisture stress. And we also had enough moisture to get us through flowering, so the crop could set the grains. So at the end of the year, when we actually worked out, well, what was the best return per megalitre, it was actually the DS Bennett gave us the best return simply because it could respond to the water, whereas the earlier maturing Axe had already sort of finished and done its stuff and really couldn't respond. So that was one of the, I suppose, results of the trial that actually changed my thinking about, well, what is the best strategy for particularly a irrigation limited strategy for wheat in particular. So the aim of the 2020 trial is to actually put in a demonstration where we can manipulate irrigations to coordinate with certain growth stages of the wheat crop. We don't want to be stressing the crop, particularly around that booting stage, because any stresses in that late booting stage are actually destroying yield, and you're not going to bring it back with subsequent irrigation. So what we're looking to find out is if we've got limited water or expensive water, then what is the best irrigation strategy to maximise our return per megalitre. We're also demonstrating the use of soil moisture monitoring gear to actually know how much moisture we have in the soil. And then at the end of the season, we can look at, well, when do I put on that first irrigation? Because it's always a difficult decision, because that is a bit of a trade-off between maximising yield, but also trying to get our best return per megalitre.